The storm had started before dawn, thunder rolling like angry drums across the skies of Enugu. Inside the Nwoke household, the morning was just as chaotic. The twins, Chidi and Chima, were arguing over who stole whose pencil case. Little Amara, the youngest, cried because she couldn't find her pink shoe. Mr. Nwoke was pacing the sitting room like a trapped animal. My keys. My keys. Why is everything always disappearing in this house? Mrs. Nwoke, exhausted, frustrated, and overwhelmed, finally snapped. Because this house is a mess, Harold. A mess. And she wasn't wrong. Dishes piled up from the night before. School uniforms were only halfway ironed. The pot of porridge on the stove smelled like it was minutes away from burning. The house help they hired last month had quietly slipped away at dawn 3 days ago. The Nwokes were drowning. Then it happened. A soft but deliberate tapping at the gate. Mrs. Nwoke frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. Vendors didn't come during storms, and neighbors rarely visited this early. She muttered, "Who on earth is knocking at this time?" and rushed outside, clutching her wrapper to keep it from the wind. When she opened the gate, she stopped breathing for a moment. Standing in the rain was a young girl, slim, calm, and strangely composed despite the storm beating down on her. Her clothes were soaked through. She held a small nylon bag with a few belongings. Her eyes, deep, steady, and unafraid. "Good morning, Ma," the girl said softly. "My name is Ada. I heard you need a housemaid." Her voice was low, respectful, but carried a confidence that didn't match her appearance. Mrs. Nwoke blinked in disbelief. "In this rain? You walked here?" "Yes, Ma. I left before the clouds gathered. I didn't want to be late." A responsible one. Already better than the last 3 they hired. But something else tugged at the back of her mind, something she couldn't name. A strange stillness around the girl, as if the storm didn't dare touch her spirit. "Who told you we needed help?" Mrs. Nwoke asked, almost suspiciously. "A woman I met at the market yesterday. She said your home needs someone reliable." The phrasing sounded odd, almost too specific. But before she could ask more, a high-pitched scream tore through the compound. "Mummy! Chidi hit me." "I did not." "Liar!" The thunder roared above them. Ada didn't flinch. Instead, she said gently, "Ma, please let me help." Her words were not desperate, not fearful, almost like a promise. Mrs. Nwoke exhaled shakily and stepped aside. "Come in." When Ada crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. She walked straight to the children, who were still hurling accusations at each other. With calm authority, she knelt to their height. "Twins shouldn't fight," she said softly. "Do you know why?" They blinked at her, surprised that a stranger would speak to them with such gentle certainty. "Because when one of you is hurt, the other feels it, even if you pretend not to." The twins exchanged a confused look, but the argument fizzled out. Just like that. Next, she turned to the kitchen. The pot was seconds away from burning. She switched off the stove, lifted the pot, and stirred it expertly. Mr. Nwoke rushed into the kitchen looking frantic. "My keys, have you seen my?" Ada pointed calmly at the bookshelf. "They're there, sir." He froze. He had searched everywhere. Except there. "How did you?" But she was already moving again. She found little Amara's missing shoe under the couch. She packed school bags like she'd lived in the house for years. She ironed uniforms without being asked. She even tied Amara's ribbons into perfect bows, something that usually took 3 attempts. The Nwoke house, usually loud as a marketplace, began to settle, almost peacefully. Within an hour, the children were ready for school. Breakfast was served. The house smelled clean. Mr. and Mrs. Nwoke stood together in the sitting room, staring at the young girl with stunned amazement. "Where did you learn all this?" Mr. Nwoke finally asked. Ada wiped her hands on her skirt and bowed her head respectfully. "Life teaches you many things, sir." Mrs. Nwoke studied the girl closely. There was something unusual about her. Not bad, not alarming, just different. Ada, she said quietly, tell me truthfully, why do you want this job? Ada hesitated, not out of fear, but as if choosing the right words. Because. She lifted her eyes, and they held a quiet strength that sent a strange shiver down the woman's spine. Whenever I enter a home, things begin to change. I don't know why. But God has given me a gift to help people. Mrs. Nwoke opened her mouth to speak, but stopped. Because in that very moment, a picture frame on the table, one that had been crooked for months, shifted on its own and aligned perfectly. Ada didn't look at it. She didn't react. She simply continued cleaning as though nothing had happened. But Mrs. Nwoke saw it. And for the first time that morning, she wondered, who exactly is this girl? And why does it feel like she came for something far greater than cleaning? Little did she know. This girl would save her family from a disaster already creeping toward them. A disaster no one else could see. For the first time in months, the Nwoke household woke up without shouting, crying, or chaos. The children were dressed on time. Breakfast was warm and ready. The living room looked like a magazine cover. The tension that usually hung in the air like a smoky cloud seemed to dissolve. And at the center of it all, Ada. She moved quietly, almost floating through the rooms. She never raised her voice, never complained, never hesitated. It was as though she could sense what needed to be done moments before anyone even asked. But with calm came curiosity. By afternoon, Mrs. Nwoke found herself watching the girl more closely. There were things Ada seemed to know without being told. Where the extra towels were kept. Which cup was Amara's favorite. What time the twins usually argued. How Mr. Nwoke liked his tea, even though he never said it out loud. It was almost unsettling. At noon the storm finally stopped. Sunlight broke through, scattering gold across the compound. The home felt peaceful. But inside Ada's room, a tiny spare room at the end of the hallway, something felt different. She stood there alone, staring at her small nylon bag, her hands trembling slightly, breathing unevenly. She whispered to herself, "Please, let me stay here long enough. They need help." Her voice cracked. No one heard her. No one saw the fear hiding behind her calm smile. The first sign. That evening, as the family settled down to dinner, something strange happened. They were all eating quietly, enjoying the first real harmony they had felt in weeks, when suddenly, the lights flickered. Just once, but enough to make everyone look up. Mr. Nwoke frowned. "Nipa again." But Ada froze. Her spoon hung midair. Her breathing stopped for a second. When the lights stabilized, she slowly lowered her spoon. Only one person noticed her reaction. "Mara." The little girl whispered. "Auntie Ada, are you scared?" Ada forced a smile. "No, my dear. Eat your food." But Amara continued staring at her, as if she could see something others couldn't. The unseen shadow. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Mrs. Nwoke got up to drink water. As she walked past the hallway leading to Ada's room, she saw something that made her pause. The door to Ada's room was open slightly. Soft glowing light spilled out. Curious, she peeped in. And what she saw made her heart skip. Ada was kneeling on the floor, her head bowed. Her hands were clasped tightly together. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. But the strangest part, the little silver pendant around her neck, one Mrs. Nwoke had barely noticed before, was glowing faintly, pulsing like a small heartbeat. "God, protect this home," Ada whispered. "Whatever is coming, don't let it destroy them." Mrs. Nwoke gasped softly. Ada's head snapped up. Their eyes met. The glowing pendant immediately dimmed. "Ma!" Ada wiped her tears quickly and stood. I'm sorry. Did I wake you?" "No," Mrs. Nwoke whispered, still shaken. Are you all right?" Ada forced a smile. Too quickly, too practiced. "Yes, Ma. Just praying." But something in her voice wasn't right. Something felt heavier. Something felt threatened. Before she left, Mrs. Nwoke hesitated at the doorway. "Ada, Are you hiding something? Something we should know. Silence. Then Ada bowed her head. Ma, when it is time you will know. A chill ran down the woman's spine. A secret in the walls. The next morning Ada woke earlier than usual. She moved around the house with unusual alertness, pausing at corners, listening to sounds others couldn't hear. The house felt different. Not to the family. To her. She paused near the children's room. Something was behind the wall. Not a person. Not a rat. Something else. She pressed her palm to the surface and felt a vibration. Faint, pulsing slowly like a cold heartbeat. Her breath hitched. It's getting stronger, she whispered. She quickly stepped back when she heard footsteps. The twins ran out, wrestling, laughing. Auntie Ada. Auntie Ada. Come and see. Look what we found under our bed. They held up a small carved wooden object. It looked ancient, dark, covered in strange markings. Ada's face drained of color. Where did you get this? She asked sharply, sharper than she intended. In our room. Under the bed. Ada knelt and held it carefully. The wood felt cold, unnaturally cold. Her hands trembled. This was not supposed to be here. The danger she feared was already inside the house. But before she could explain anything, Mr. Nwoke shouted from the living room. Everybody come out here now. They ran out. On the center table lay something terrifying. Note. A note written in bold black ink, placed where no one could miss it. It said, I know your secret. I'm coming back for what belongs to me. The entire family froze in shock. But Ada's reaction was different. She didn't look confused. She didn't look surprised. She looked afraid. Deeply, truly afraid. Because she knew exactly what the message meant. She knew who sent it. And she knew. This was only the beginning. The danger wasn't coming. Was already watching. Already moving. Already inside. And only Ada understood the darkness about to fall on the Nwoke family. The note sat on the center table like a demon waiting to open its eyes. Mr. Nwoke paced the living room restlessly. His hands shaking in a way he hoped no one would notice. Mrs. Nwoke stood frozen, staring at the paper as if it were something alive. The children clung to each other. But Ada stood apart, her eyes lowered, her breath uneven. Amara pointed at her. Auntie Ada knows something. Look at her face. All eyes turned to the housemaid. Ada swallowed hard. I can explain, she whispered. But before she could speak, something strange happened. The lights flickered again. Once. Then the chandelier above them began to sway gently as though someone, or something, had brushed past it. Mr. Nwoke stepped forward. Ada, who wrote this? What secret is he talking about? What belongs to him? Ada closed her eyes. It is not my secret, she whispered. It is yours. Mrs. Nwoke gasped. Ours? What are you talking about? Ada looked at both parents, her voice trembling. Something happened in this house before I came. Something you left unresolved. Someone you thought was gone. Silence fell like a hammer. Then the twins started crying. The name no one wanted to hear. Mr. Nwoke's voice cracked. Ada, if you know something, say it clearly. She opened her mouth. Then stopped when she heard movement upstairs. Slow, heavy footsteps. But everyone was downstairs. Everyone. Mrs. Nwoke whispered in fear. Who is that? No one answered. Ada was the first to move. She walked toward the staircase slowly, each step cautious. The family followed behind her, trembling. When they reached the top, they saw that the footsteps had stopped near the guest room door. The door was slightly open. Ada pushed it gently. The room was empty. But the curtains fluttered. The windows were closed. Something had moved through that room. Something unseen, something heavy enough to leave faint indentations on the carpet. Mrs. Nwoke broke down crying. God, what is happening in my home? Ada turned to them. I need to tell you the truth now. It's the only way to stop this. She guided them downstairs and they sat in a tight circle. Ada took a deep breath. Ada's confession. Before I came here, Ada began, I used to work for an elderly priest in Kogi State. People brought their problems to him. Family issues, lost children, curses, missing persons. He paused. One night a man came to us. A man filled with anger. Bitterness. He said something precious was stolen from him by a couple from Enugu. Then Woke stiffened. Ada continued. He carried an object, this kind of carving. She pointed to the one the children found. The priest warned him. If you attempt revenge, the consequences will return to your own soul. But he didn't listen. Ada's voice trembled. He died that same night. Everyone gasped. Mr. Nwoke swallowed hard. Died. How? He collapsed outside the shrine. Before he died, he kept repeating the same words over and over. I will return. I will take back what is mine. Even in death. Ada looked up at them. The carving the children found. It belonged to him. Mrs. Nwoke screamed and covered her mouth. But, we don't know any man like that. We didn't steal anything. Ada shook her head slowly. You may not have realized what you took. What does that mean? Mr. Nwoke demanded. Ada opened her mouth. But suddenly the front door slammed violently. Everyone jumped. A cold wind swept into the living room, even though all windows were closed. The pendant around Ada's neck began to glow faintly again. She clutched it. He's close, she whispered. He's here. The children screamed and ran to their mother. Mr. Nwoke stood protectively in front of them. Ada, tell us the truth now. Who is after us? Ada took a deep breath, tears forming in her eyes. The man who died in Kogi. She looked directly at Mr. Nwoke. Was your elder brother. The room exploded in shock. Mrs. Nwoke's hands flew to her mouth. The children stared wide-eyed. And Mr. Nwoke staggered backward as if struck. My brother. But he died years ago in an accident. Ada shook her head slowly. No, sir. He didn't die in an accident. He died seeking revenge on you. Mr. Nwoke's voice cracked. Revenge for what? Ada bowed her head. You took something from him. A long silence followed. Then Ada whispered. You took his son. The room erupted. Mrs. Nwoke screamed. Mr. Nwoke nearly collapsed. The twins cried. Amara buried her face in Ada's dress. Shock, confusion, fear, all tangled together. Mr. Nwoke finally found his voice. Ada, that is impossible. My brother never had a child. Ada looked up, eyes filled with sorrow. He did. And you raised that child as your own, without knowing. The Nwoke parents froze. Their breaths stopped. Their eyes widened slowly. As the truth, terrifying and impossible, sank in. Ada whispered. The person he wants back is not an object. She pointed toward the staircase. It is someone living under this roof. And the entire family turned their eyes toward the children. But one child in particular. Erin. The quiet twin. The one who always heard things others couldn't. The one who had never fit in completely. The child who might not be their child at all. Just then, a loud knock boomed on the front door. Low, heavy, echoing. Everyone screamed. Ada stood up, pendant glowing brightly now. It's time, she said softly. He has come for the boy. The pounding on the front door shook the entire house. Each knock sounded less like a human hand, and more like a force desperate to break through reality. Mrs. Nwoke held the twins tightly, her breath coming in sharp, frightened gasps. Please, someone help us, she whispered. But Ada stepped forward, her eyes fierce and determined. Do not open that door, she warned. No matter what you hear. Mr. Nwoke's voice cracked as he asked. Ada, is it him? My brother. Ada nodded once. But he is not the man he used to be. The knocking stopped. A sudden silence fell, thick, heavy, suffocating. Then a voice echoed from outside the door. A deep, unsettling voice that made the walls vibrate. "Give him to me." All the children screamed and buried their faces. The voice spoke again. "Give me my son." Darren, the quiet twin, suddenly stood up from where he sat. His little body trembled. His eyes looked lost, confused, frightened. "Mummy," he whispered. "Why is he calling me?" Mrs. Nwoke broke into tears. "My baby, you're mine, you're mine. Nobody can take you." She hugged him tightly, as if her embrace could shield him from the supernatural force outside. Ada reveals the full truth. Ada lifted her glowing pendant. Its light filled the room, chasing away the shadows for a moment. "Listen carefully," she said. "You deserve the whole truth before anything else happens." The family gathered around her, shaking, desperate for answers. Ada began. "Many years ago, before you moved here, your brother, Obinna, lived a troubled life. He made a mistake. Big one. He got involved in a dangerous group." Mr. Nwoke's voice dropped to a whisper. "I suspected, but he never told me anything." Ada nodded. "He had a child with a woman he loved. But enemies were after him. So he begged you." Ada pointed at Mr. Nwoke. "To take the child and protect him." Mr. Nwoke staggered backward. No, that's not possible. I would remember something like that." Ada's expression tightened. "Your brother erased your memory to keep you safe." Mrs. Nwoke gasped. "What? How?" "He worked with people who dealt with forbidden things," Ada said quietly. "He asked them to hide the truth from your mind, to protect you and the child." Mr. Nwoke dropped to his knees. "My God, all these years. Darren, he's not." Ada placed a hand on his shoulder. "You raised him with love. That makes him your son in every way that counts." The lights flickered violently. A cold wind rushed through the house again. The voice outside thundered. "I am waiting." The house reacts. Suddenly, picture frames fell from the walls. Furniture shook. The TV switched on and off by itself. Footsteps ran through the hallways. Fast, heavy, and invisible. The children cried uncontrollably. Mrs. Nwoke prayed aloud. Ada held her glowing pendant with both hands and whispered words the family didn't understand. The pendant pulsed brighter. And then the shaking stopped. For a moment. Instant silence. Too silent. Then very softly they heard. "Darren, my son, come to me." The voice wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was coming from inside the house. Mrs. Nwoke screamed and clutched Darren so tightly he winced. Mr. Nwoke stood, shaking but determined. "Ada, what does he want?" "To take Darren away. To hurt him." Ada shook her head. "No. He doesn't want to hurt him. He wants to claim him." "Claim him how?" Mrs. Nwoke cried. Ada looked at Darren with pity. That carving the twins found. It was a binding charm. Obinna hid it to protect Darren. But once the children touched it. Her voice broke. The bond between father and son reopened. And Obinna's spirit followed it home. Darren looked up. His eyes wide and filled with tears. "I don't want to go with him," he whispered. "I want to stay with my mummy." Mrs. Nwoke hugged him fiercely. "And you will stay with me." "Not unless we break the bond," Ada said urgently. "And we only have minutes left." The door bursts open. Before anyone could react, the front door flew open with a violent crash. Cold mist poured into the living room. The air froze. The lights went off completely. Only the faint glow of Ada's pendant lit the room. A tall, dark silhouette stood in the open doorway. A shape that wasn't entirely solid. A figure with blazing red eyes. A presence that filled the house with dread. The children screamed. Mrs. Nwoke collapsed to her knees. Mr. Nwoke stepped in front of his family. "Obinna," he whispered, trembling. "My brother, please don't do this." The shadow spoke in a deep, echoing voice. "You failed me in life. Do not fail me in death." Ada moved in front of Darren, raising her pendant high. "You cannot take him," she shouted. "Your anger is not his burden." The glowing light clashed with the darkness like two storms colliding. Obinna's spirit roared. The house trembled again. Shadows crawled across the floor like living creatures. Darren screamed and clung to Ada. "Please stop. Please stop." Ada shouted over the chaos. "Obinna, this child is innocent. He has a home. A family." Silence fell for a moment. Then the shadow turned its burning eyes to Mr. Nwoke. "You stole him. You hid him. You took what was mine." Mr. Nwoke shook his head violently. "I didn't steal him. You asked me to protect him. You made me forget. I would never take your child." The shadow hesitated, flickered, as if confused. Ada seized the moment. "You died in anger. But your son lived in love. If you take him now, your vengeance will destroy what little remains of your soul." The spirit trembled. And, very slowly, Obinna's ghost looked down at Darren. The boy whispered, "I don't know you, but I hope you find peace." Something in the spirit cracked. A deep, painful howl echoed through the house. Suddenly, everything went completely still. And Obinna's spirit began to fade, like smoke dissolving into the night. His final whisper echoed through the room. "Brother, take care of him." Then he was gone. Completely gone. The house fell silent. The darkness lifted. Lights flickered back on. Ada dropped to her knees, exhausted. Mr. and Mrs. Nwoke held Darren tightly, sobbing with relief. Amara and the twins ran to hug Ada. "Is it over?" Mrs. Nwoke whispered. Ada nodded slowly. "He finally let go." But then she added something that made everyone freeze. "But this is not the end of the story." Mr. Nwoke blinked. "What do you mean?" Ada stood up, eyes grave. "There is still one more truth you must face. A truth your brother tried to protect you from." She approached Darren and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Darren is not the only one carrying a secret in this house." Everyone stared at her in shock. What do you mean?" Mrs. Nwoke asked. Ada looked around the room. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The danger was never just about Darren. It was about all of you." The family froze, staring at Ada as if she had spoken a forbidden prophecy. Mrs. Nwoke clutched Darren tightly, her voice shaking. "Ada, what do you mean? What secret? Isn't this nightmare over?" Ada inhaled slowly, steadying herself. "No, it's not over yet. What just happened was only the surface of a deeper story. One your brother tried to shield you all from." She turned to Mr. Nwoke. "You remember nothing about your brother's final days because he wanted it that way. But he didn't only erase memories. He altered the path of your entire family." Mr. Nwoke swallowed, uncertain. "I don't understand." Ada lifted her pendant. The light shimmered, then revealed faint symbols glowing on the walls, symbols none of them had ever seen before. "What is that?" Mrs. Nwoke whispered in horror. "A mark of protection," Ada said. "But it wasn't meant just for Darren." Everyone stared. Ada continued. "Obinna didn't come to harm his son. He came because someone else is searching for him, and for all of you." A cold silence filled the room. "The real enemy." Ada's voice dropped to a whisper. "Your brother wasn't running from debt, or from trouble. He was running from a man." "Who?" Mr. Nwoke asked, barely breathing. Ada closed her eyes. "His name is Chief Odenigbo." Mrs. Nwoke gasped softly. "That name. I've heard it before." Ada nodded. "You should have. He's powerful, dangerous. His influence stretches farther than most people can imagine." The pendant dimmed, and Ada's tone grew heavier. "Obinna worked for Chief Odenigbo. At first, he thought it was harmless business, moving goods, managing properties, assisting with meetings. But then he discovered something dark, something terrifying, and he tried to escape." "What did he discover?" Mr. Nwoke whispered. Ada looked directly into his eyes. That Chief Odenigbo was hunting children. The entire family recoiled. Mrs. Nwoke covered her mouth. "Oh my God," Ada continued quietly. "He believed certain children carried spiritual gifts, gifts he could use for power. Obinna discovered the truth and tried to save every child he could." Her eyes fell on Darren. "Your son is one of those children." Darren's gift. Darren trembled, tears in his small eyes. I don't understand. I'm not special. I'm just me." Ada knelt beside him. "You are more special than you know. You are sensitive to the unseen realm. You feel energies others ignore. That is why the carving reacted to you. And why the spirit called you." Mrs. Nwoke hugged him protectively. "No one is taking my child. Not in this life. Not in any life." Ada nodded reassuringly. "Chief Odenigbo hasn't found him yet, because Obinna shielded him with everything he had. And now, his spirit's final act was giving you time." Mr. Nwoke spoke in a trembling voice. "So why did Obinna come tonight?" Ada looked down. "To warn you. To buy you time. To help you remember. To help you protect Darren." The house fell silent again. Every breath felt heavy, uncertain, filled with fear and truth. Ada's final duty. Ada stood up, straightening her simple housemaid dress. "There is one more thing I have to confess." She turned to Mrs. Nwoke. "I wasn't sent here by the agency." "Not exactly." Mrs. Nwoke frowned. "What do you mean?" Ada stepped forward. "I was sent by Obinna." The room gasped. Ada continued. "Before he died, Obinna found me. He begged me to watch over your family. He knew danger would eventually come to your doorstep." She touched her pendant. "This belonged to him originally. He asked me to use it to protect Darren until he was old enough to understand who he is, and what he carries." Tears streamed down Mr. Nwoke's face. "My brother, he protected us even in death." Ada nodded. "Yes. And now that his spirit has finally crossed over, the burden falls to us." Mrs. Nwoke wiped her eyes. "So what happens now?" Ada took a slow breath. "Now we prepare. A new beginning, a shaken family." The next morning, the sun rose softly over the neighborhood. But inside the Nwoke home, everything had changed. Ada packed her tiny bag. The children surrounded her, holding her hands, refusing to let go. "Auntie Ada, don't leave us," the twins cried. Ada smiled warmly but sadly. "I am not leaving forever. I will return. But I must go and gather what we need." Mr. Nwoke approached her. "You saved our family. We can never repay you." "Yes," Mrs. Nwoke agreed, voice shaking. "Whatever you need, we will help." Ada looked at them with gratitude. "I will protect you for as long as I breathe. But to do that, I must find answers. And face someone I hoped I was done with." "Who?" the twins asked. Ada hesitated. Then whispered, "Chief Odenigbo." The name sent shivers through the room. Darren's promise. Before she left, Ada knelt in front of Darren. "You are strong," she told him. "Stronger than you know. One day you will understand your gift. Until then, be brave. Protect your family." Darren wiped his tears. "I will. But please come back." Ada nodded. "I will. I promise." She stood, walked to the door, and paused. "Lock your doors at night. Keep this house bright. And if you ever feel a cold wind, call my name." With that, she stepped out into the sunlight. The family watched the woman who saved their lives walk away, not as a housemaid anymore, but as a guardian. Epilogue. But the story isn't over. That night, after everyone slept, a quiet knock echoed at their gate. Not loud, not violent, just soft, measured. Mr. Nwoke woke and peered through the window. No one was there. But on the ground sat a small black envelope. He picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was a single message. "He knows." A chill crawled through his skin. He looked back toward the house, toward Darren's room, fear gripping his heart. The danger wasn't gone. It was just beginning.